One Piece fans? This is Chris Bolts, and I'm coming in with an episode recap and review of this week's episode 1148. Damn, that are so many damn episodes of One Piece. The Lost History. Joy Boy, the first pirate. Now, before I do get into the content, do make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. All this stuff really does help me out. Now, this episode actually begins with something dropping from the heavens, and you see these are like angelic wings. Something is dropping. I'm assuming it's dropping from Skypiea, and they're gonna drop right into the ocean, and they're gonna sink down, and then we get the title sequence right here. And so I think it's someone dropping from Skypiea, because there's a lot of creatures in Skypiea that do have wings like angels. So that's what I'm thinking it is. It could also be one of the ancient beings that's similar to King. You know, remember King is one of Kaido's main henchmen, Queen being the other big one. King also had those types of wings as well. He was a special type of being that has the fire that comes out that never extinguishes and is an indication of his power. It could be also one of those, but I'm thinking it's probably someone more associated with coming down from Skypiea. Now, this entire episode, Vegapunk, Stella Vegapunk, is now going out and just telling the history, the secret rather, of the history of the Void Century. And you see all around the world, we are getting different types of reactions everywhere. This is a really cool scene right here where Don Flamingo is talking with Magellan. Now, I think Don Flamingo already knew about this history, because as you know, Don Flamingo is a celestial dragon, or was a celestial dragon. No, in fact, I think he still is a celestial dragon, and I think all celestial dragons have this information. But no, that is not true at all, and we'll get to that here in a minute. A lot of people are ignorant about the history of the One Piece world, and that was done by design, and that's the entire purpose of this episode right here, is of Stella Vegapunk is just going out there, and he is just laying everything out so that people know exactly what's going on. He accurately predicted that the world had experienced a very strange earthquake, and that the sea levels will rise by 1 meter. Now, we already know Stella Vegapunk is already dead, but he is telling this right now. And we're seeing something right here with Saint Saturn in his spider form. They're communicating. All the Gorosei are communicating to destroy all the life forms, because they are desperately trying to stop this broadcast from happening, because they've already told in the last episode, Stella Vegapunk already told the world, hey, the world is going to be sinking here. And I was like, well, is it going to be of a natural event, or is it going to be something more man-made? And it appears that this is something that's more man-made. Stella Vegapunk already confirmed that this is going to be this earthquake that happened was not natural at all, and that the world is still sinking. And you see that right here. This is where he's talking about that, to saying that an unusual earthquake will shake the entire world, and then that there's going to be flooding, and everybody knows that he's already dead. So he's already predicting these things, and that he's saying that if that is the case, then there's going to be additional things that's going to happen. We already know that this is not supposed to be there. We already know that the sea levels have already risen by 1 meter. And he goes, if it turns out to be wrong, feel free to ignore everything else I tell you, but it did not turn out to be wrong. It turned out to be right. So everything that is going to follow from here, he's going to start talking about the history of the world, the Void Century that has just happened, and that there's no information on. It takes some place between 900 to 800 years ago. So that one period that happened between the 800 to 900 years ago completely wiped out. And that is where the introduction of the first pirate, Joy Boy, has come from. In fact, this right here is kind of interesting. In the last episode, Saturn was really trying to get to Nico Robin, but he is no longer consumed with that. He is consumed with trying to stop this broadcast from going out. And unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be very successful or anything like that. He ignores these, even though he's kind of striking them right now, he ultimately goes on to ignore the Straw Hats. He ignores Lilith and goes on to the Punk Records to go ahead and try to stop this broadcast. And so that is pretty much what this entire episode is. It really just boils down to the fact that Stella Vegapunk is telling the entire world the history that is missing. We see right here that Mars is trying to go in there and kill all of these snails to stop them from broadcasting, but that's not, none of these snails are actually the ones that are broadcasting. And we see right here, this is called the Mother Flame. Now, the Mother Flame is an artificial energy source, and Dr. Vegapunk does talk about this here. He was talking about wanting to create an unlimited energy source to help supply the world with unlimited energy to provide progress. But it turns out that this energy source was only being used by two places. It was only being used by Egghead Island, and it was only being used by the world government for the Celestial Dragons. Now, speaking of the Celestial Dragons, now I thought that the Celestial Dragons would have this information, but no, if you look at this scene right here, as Dr. Vegapunk is talking about the Void Century, even some of these Celestial Dragons did not know. And this lady right here says the Void Century. What is that? So even the Celestial Dragons are not wise to what's going on. The only ones that really know about the Void Century are the Gorosei and Emu. And there might be a handful of Celestial Dragons who do know it. I think Don Flamingo probably is one. He the way he was laying there in the cell and impaled down, just having that conversation with Magellan, it made it seem like he already knew a thing or two about what Dr. Vegapunk is talking about. But that's the coy thing that I like about Eiichiro Oda's writing. He doesn't really let you know for certain if that's the case. But Don Flamingo is kind of, I think he's kind of hinting that he already knows a lot about what's going on here, but that's not true of all Celestial Dragons. So even some of the Celestial Dragons have been kept in the dark about the Void Century and what all happened during that time. And basically what the Void Century has turned out to be, from what Dr. Vegapunk is going to be explaining, is it's a war, a great war that happened, and it happened between two competing ideologies. And Dr. Vegapunk makes it known that he does not consider all this a battle between good and evil. It was just a battle between two competing ideologies. And when we think about that, when it comes down to war, that's what it really boils down to. It really boils down to two competing ideologies fighting against one another. Now, some might say that in certain wars there is an evil side and that there is a good side, but the thing is, in my view, when it comes to war, it's just two sides having a fight. And we just have to hope that the side that has the better ideology is the one that's going to win that war. Because if the side that has the worst ideology wins that war, it's going to spell trouble for everybody going forward. So I would say that a lot of the wars that we have fought in history, they've all led to this point. So I would say that in most instances, the right ideology has won. Can't say the same about what's going on here in One Piece, because I think the wrong ideology kind of won out here. And that's why we're currently stuck with the world government, the way the world government is built up. We had 20 coalition governments that work together, and and that's what this story right here. This little girl is going to be reciting some of the history about what's going on in the world here. And we know that we need the poneglyphs to go ahead and decipher what has happened And you see this little girl talks about 20 kings joined hands and created the world. We already knew that. We already knew that some of the 20 kings that did that. That's how we got the celestial dragon. Some of the 20 kings basically ascended into to become celestial dragons and are now running the world government. And just going back on the poneglyphs, Dr. Vegapunk decided to go ahead and start deciphering them. He took a lot of the research, and we saw that episode where several years ago where, or rather not several years ago, but several months ago, where Dr. Vegapunk was on the island that Nico Robin used to reside on. A lot of those archaeological books, the historical books, were being destroyed. He happened to save a good number of them. He was on that island talking to, I forgot who he was talking to. I wonder if he was talking to Garp, or who he was, or if it was Aokiji, or whatever pirate that he was talking to, or individual that he was talking to on that island. He got a lot of those books, and he decided to go ahead and do a lot of the research himself. He pushed it as far as he could, and he only tried to go in there and separate fact from fiction. You see that he says right there, he did not regret it for one bit, and that is pretty commendable on the part of Dr. Vegapunk. But overall, that's what this entire episode was about. Other than right here, we also saw that Luffy kept trying to run. Luffy, Dory, and Brogy kept trying to run away from the Fingchi, the boar. That's the boar form for Saint Mercury. We see right here Edison. He's turning on these valves, and these valves are actually going out there and pumping out a lot of clouds so that the Straw Hat crew can go ahead and sail away. And so that is the entire episode for the most part. But Dr. Vegapunk is not done, because the next episode that's going to be coming on, let's go ahead and get to that part right there. We want to go ahead and just check out the preview. And this is the upcoming preview for the next week's episode. The story that Dr. Vegapunk is telling about the history of the world is not done. He still has a lot to go ahead and tell. The Great War is proven true. Ancient weapons and a worldwide cataclysm revealed. Hidden fragments of history are now finally being unveiled. The next episode of One Piece, The Void Century, a revelation about a sinking world. So this has all been predicted a long time ago. Joy Boy was the first pirate because he rebelled against the world government at the time. Dr. Vegapunk had made sure to let you know that Joy Boy was part of some type of advanced civilization that's far more advanced than what is going on right now, that has technology that exceeds even what he, the smartest man in all of One Piece, could hope to accomplish. And so that's where Joy Boy had come from. And we've seen bits and pieces of the advanced technology, and it kind of makes sense here, because for the longest time, One Piece has always been this weird amalgamation of past, present, and future. We saw lots of things that associate One Piece with taking place in the past, but then we saw things that are within One Piece that says, no, that's sometimes taking place here in the present. But then we just see things that are just way out there. Like when we see on Egghead Island, graph boots that can make you fly, riding on clouds, robots that are sentient and can think for themselves. All that kind of stuff off in there. It was always kind of weird seeing this all happen in One Piece. Like, a lot of this doesn't make sense. One episode, you'll see that they're just selling about and they're only using swords and fighting hand to hand. Another episode, you see that they got all kinds of guns and can have cars and which is weird. And then the next episode is just all this technology that just exists that is wonderful. So that is what Dr. Vegapunk is referring to, and we're gonna get more of the Void Century in next week's episode. This episode is all about fleshing out the lore and the story, which is always great in my book. I give this episode an 8.5 out of 10. I normally don't give half points, but this one right here, I certainly do. It really advanced the story, and it just fleshes out what is happening in the past that's going to have an impact on the present. Those are my thoughts on this episode. What did you guys think of this episode? Did this episode meet your expectations, or did you expect a little bit more out of it? Whatever your thoughts, jump down in the comments below. Let's have a conversation on that, and make sure you do like, share, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. All that stuff helps me out. And remember, this is Chris Boats signing off, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take it easy.